Picture this. It's 2026. You have this brilliant app idea. You've been sketching it out on napkins, whiteboards. Maybe you're even dreaming about it at this point.
Oh, the classic founder obsession phase. I know it well.
Right. And deep down in your bones that this concept could completely change the trajectory of your business. But right now, sitting at your desk, you're staring down this massive fork in the road.
Yeah, it really is the defining operational bottleneck for modern founders today. Because the development path you select at this exact moment, it dictates your market entry speed, your runway, and ultimately your scalability for, like, the next 5 years.
Exactly. So one path could bypass months of agonizing software engineering. You get your product into users' hands before your competitors even realize there's a new player in town.
But the alternative path, well, if you choose that route of rapid deployment without actually understanding its architectural limits, you might end up burning thousands of dollars on a platform that just, collapses the second it starts gaining real traction.
Yeah, which is the ultimate nightmare. You're basically weighing the modern business dilemma. Do you license a pre-built standardized architecture and just adapt it? Or do you engineer your vision entirely from the ground up?
The whole clone versus custom debate, it's a tough one.
It is. So our mission today in this deep dive is to help you navigate this exact high-stakes decision. We're unpacking a really comprehensive industry guide from Enatega on clone apps versus custom apps.
And it is a dense guide, but so necessary.
Super necessary. We're going to strip away the marketing jargon, break down the structural realities, the hidden legal and security risks, and the true financial footprint of both paths so you can make an informed decision for your business. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the fast track, the clone app strategy.
Right. So the term clone carries this surprisingly heavy stigma in the tech industry. I mean, people hear it and instinctively think of a pirated movie or some cheap, buggy knockoff.
Yeah, like a fake Rolex or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in the reality of software development, especially for emerging startups and mid-market businesses looking to digitize quickly, the clone script is an incredibly potent strategic asset.
I like to think of it using a baking analogy. A clone app is essentially like buying a premium box cake mix, right? One that's modeled after a famous bakery.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, you don't have to invent the recipe from scratch. You don't have to figure out the exact ratio of flour to baking powder.
Yeah.
You just reuse the existing proven ingredients, maybe add your own frosting or sprinkles, and boom, you have a cake.
What's fascinating here is the underlying psychology and business strategy driving this approach. You're not just purchasing lines of code. You're acquiring a proven business model.
Right. You're getting the behavioral model that already works.
Exactly. Consider the dominant players in the on-demand economy like Uber Eats or Food Panda.
Yeah.
Those organizations spent hundreds of millions of dollars on consumer friction analysis, A/B testing, user flow optimization.
They know exactly where the user's thumb wants to go.
Yes. They know the exact sequence of screens required to convert a hungry, impatient user into a paying customer.
So by using a clone, you're essentially licensing their billion-dollar market research.
Precisely. When you deploy a clone script modeled on those giants, you rely on the muscle memory consumers already possess. The user instinctively knows where the search bar is, how the cart functions, and how to track their delivery on the map.
Which massively lowers the barrier to entry. I mean, in this fast-changing tech industry, speed of deployment is basically everything.
Oh, completely. You can't afford a 12-month development cycle if market demands are going to shift drastically in 6 months. A clone app allows a business with a solid local strategy, but maybe minimal technical expertise, to launch and start generating revenue almost immediately.
And the guide mentions they are customizable, right? Like tailoring a generic food clone app to a specific niche.
Yeah, you take that proven chassis and you customize the body. You tailor the branding, localize the services, and target demographics the larger giants ignore.
Okay, but I have to push back on this a little bit. Wait, if you're just blatantly copying Uber Eats, doesn't the market immediately see right through that?
I mean, yes and no.
Because users are incredibly tech-savvy now. If I download a local delivery app, and the interface is a direct 100% replica of an app I use every single day, my reaction isn't, wow, great behavioral model. My reaction is, oh, they didn't have the resources to build their own app. How customizable can a clone actually be before it breaks the illusion?
And that right there is the core vulnerability of the clone strategy. It perfectly highlights why launching at warp speed comes with a steep, hidden tax. Speed has a price.
You eventually hit a ceiling, right?
Of a very rigid ceiling. The lack of originality isn't just an aesthetic issue, it's a profound brand limitation. But the bending before it breaks issue goes far deeper than just visual branding.
It's a structural problem.
Exactly. The Enatega guide breaks down the structural and legal limitations in detail. Cloneapp scripts are generally monolithic architectures. They are tightly coupled blocks of code designed to execute a specific set of functions. They are not engineered for massive, unpredictable scalability.
So what happens if you actually succeed? Like best case scenario, your marketing goes viral.
If you jump from 1,000 concurrent users to 50,000, a monolithic clone script, which handles database queries through very rigid pathways, doesn't just slow down, it crashes.
Oh, wow. So your reward for a successful marketing campaign is a broken app.
Basically, yeah. And if you want to integrate, say, a complex third-party inventory system, the underlying code often just can't accommodate it without unraveling. Costly upgrades are essentially mandatory just to keep it afloat under pressure.
That structural fragility ties perfectly into what the guide calls the reputation trap, which I found fascinating. Your brand equity is unwittingly tethered to the original app you're mimicking.
Guilt by visual association.
Right. If the multinational tech giant whose app you cloned suddenly faces a huge PR disaster, maybe a data privacy scandal, or they release an update everyone hates, your app might suffer a secondary shockwave just because it looks and feels identical.
Consumers absolutely project their frustrations with the big corporation onto your independent business.
Hmm.
And it gets worse when we look at the detection and safety issues highlighted in the FAQs of the guide.
Oh yeah, the security stuff is terrifying. Clone apps aren't invisible, are they?
Not at all. They are highly detectable through unique identifiers and code signatures.
Wait, can you explain code signatures really quickly for the listener?
Sure. Think of a code signature as a digital fingerprint for the software. Automated review processes in the Apple App Store or Google Play actively scan for identical structural fingerprints to weed out spam or duplicates.
So you could just get rejected outright on day one.
Exactly. But the more severe threat is malware and security. Unofficial clones pose massive risks. When hundreds of companies run apps built on the exact same underlying code base, hackers don't even need to target you specifically.
They just find one vulnerability in the master script.
Right. A single flaw in the payment gateway routing, and they can automate attacks against every single app using that framework. It's a supply chain nightmare.
And if you somehow dodge the hackers and the server crashes, you still have to navigate the legal threat. Copyright infringement, trademark violations, intellectual property theft. The original creators will absolutely protect their assets if you get too big.
Which means choosing a clone is really a calculated risk.
Yeah, it's cheap to launch, but if you become too successful, the lack of originality and scalability could literally collapse the business.
Precisely. Which means eventually, if you want to scale indefinitely or offer something completely unique, you have to choose the alternative path.
Right. You have to move to the blank canvas. Custom app development. To pivot from my baking analogy earlier, this is more like architecture. Custom development is like building a custom home.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you get exactly what you want, your brand identity, your exact floor plan, true originality, but it can take months, sometimes over a year to finish, and the construction costs are massive.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you're investing in a true competitive advantage. You're not forcing your operations into a pre-built box. You are solving specific operational pain points that a cookie-cutter clone simply cannot address.
Because you're writing the rules from scratch.
Exactly. The pros outlined in the guide are substantial. You get total scalability. Instead of a rigid monolith, you can use microservices architectures where different functions operate independently.
So if your payment gateway gets flooded, the whole app doesn't crash.
Right, you just scale the resources for the payment gateway.
Yeah.
Plus, you have full control over your intellectual property. Every line of code belongs to you.
And the enhanced tailored security, right?
Right. Yeah, you can implement specialized encryption tailored explicitly to protect user data, which is crucial for modern compliance.
But the cons are pretty hefty, especially for small startups. You can't just buy this off the shelf.
No, you need to hire a highly skilled team. Developers, UI/UX designers, database architects, security experts.
And with all that complexity comes what the guide calls a high risk of errors.
Oh, definitely. Brand new code invariably contains undiscovered bugs. It requires rigorous testing and ongoing maintenance to patch vulnerabilities and keep up with iOS or Android updates.
Okay, so the philosophy and the risks of both paths are super clear now, but theory is great, budget dictates reality. Here's where it gets really interesting. The Enatega guide actually provides estimated cost ranges. Let's look at the hard numbers.
The numbers are usually what finally makes the decision for a founder.
Right. So for development alone, clones range from $10,000 to $100,000, though basic clones often hover right around that $10K to $15 mark. But custom development, that starts at $15,000 for the bare minimum and can easily skyrocket to $200,000 or more.
200,000. I mean, you could theoretically test 10 different business models using clone scripts at the price of one custom build.
Exactly. And the design costs, the UI/UX reflect that same gap. Clones run about $2,000 to $10,000 to design, while custom is $3,000 to $15,000.
Because custom design requires extensive psychological research and mapping complex user journeys from scratch.
Yeah, you aren't just changing the button colors, you're inventing the buttons. And then there's maintenance. Clones are estimated at $20K to $50 a year. Custom maintenance is double that, roughly $2 to $10K a year.
This raises an important question for the listener. You have to define your unique value proposition. Are you looking to test the waters quickly?
Like proving a hypothesis for a local delivery service.
Yes. If you just need market validation, a clone is brilliant. But do you need a tailored solution for specific compliance and regulatory requirements, like APIA in healthcare or SOC2 in finance?
Right, you can't trust a black box clone script with heavily regulated medical data.
Absolutely not. If your value proposition relies on total data sovereignty and entirely unique features, custom development isn't just an expense, it's mandatory.
So what does this all mean? The bottom line from the Enatega guide is pretty clear. Clone apps are best for small to mid-sized businesses seeking rapid deployment and market validation. Custom apps are for those offering something entirely new or expanding an already successful digital product that needs to scale indefinitely.
It really comes down to matching your software architecture to your business maturity.
Exactly. And you have to remember, one wrong choice here doesn't just cost money, it costs momentum. If you waste a year and $100,000 on a custom app only to find out nobody wants your service, your momentum is dead.
But if you launch a cheap clone and it catastrophically crashes during your big launch, frustrating your first wave of users,
Momentum is also dead.
it's the most fragile currency a startup has. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final, somewhat philosophical question to ponder.
Oh, I love these. Lay it on me.
In a tech landscape where every custom app borrows ideas from its competitors to survive, because, let's face it, users demand familiar interfaces, where exactly is the line drawn between taking inspiration and being a clone?
That is a blurry line. Nobody is inventing a new shape for a shopping cart icon.
Right. So think about the digital equivalent of the ship of Theseus. If a clone app launches, scales successfully, and over 5 years the engineering team methodically rewrites the back end, redesigns the front end, and adds proprietary features, does it eventually earn the right to be called an original?
Wow. At what specific line of newly written code does the copy become the master?
Exactly.
That is an amazing thought to leave on. Let that roll around in your head as you chart out your development roadmap. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.